Welcome to the Stop Losing Women podcast, where it's all about learning how to keep a girl like me interested for the long haul, if you think you can handle it. And now, here's your host, Harry Wilmington.
So this is the true story of how I figured out that women are the ones that want to chase us instead of the other way around. You know, we get taught that women want us to go after them and chase them down. But I don't know if you're a guy like me, you find out that doesn't really work that well. And so I actually discovered this by accident in college. So to start, in my junior year of college, there was a woman that was in my same set of courses. And we had known each other for like 2 or 3 years now, right? She was a year ahead of me. And just over that time, you know, I was in the theater program. She was in the theater program. We had done some plays together. We took classes together. And, you know, over time, you just kind of start to connect and make like a really strong bond, right? So I started noticing that we were spending a lot of time together. Like I'd be in the library, she'd be in the library, she'd be asking me to come over to help her study or to watch some movies and stuff. And at this point, I'm 20 years old. I don't know nothing. I'm still really, really bad with women, right? And so I'm not getting that there are signals she's throwing me that are indicative of her having a crush on me. And so she would do things like, I remember one time she invited me to her place to finish up some kind of thing we were working on, right? So we go there, I get there to her apartment, and she had made a whole dinner for me with like spaghetti and bread and some sides and stuff like that. So we eat, and then we work on the project for a little bit. At this point, it gets to be like 10 o'clock at night, right? And so 10 o'clock, she's looking at me. She's like, well, I guess I'm going to go to bed now. And she's like in a pair of pajamas and stuff. And she didn't say I had to leave. She just said, well, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I took that as, okay, well, I'm going to leave now. At this point, I'm still a virgin, 20 years old, didn't know nothing, right? So after that, she started kind of getting a little distant from me, and I hadn't recognized it, like she had been trying to throw me these various signals, right? So my homeboy hits me up and is like, hey, you know, so-and-so, I think she likes you because she's showing you all these signals. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I've been messing up. That's why she's been getting distant. That's why she's been kind of ghosting a little bit. And so my smart 20-year-old self decides, you know what? I think the best thing to do would be to tell her that I like her also. That way she won't be worrying or thinking that I don't like her. She'll have an understanding that I know that she likes me and that I like her, and maybe we can start doing some dating or something, right? So I can just tell you now, that's not how it went. What happened was I hit her up and I said, hey, I just want you to know that, you know, I really do like you and, you know, I really have a crush on you. And her response was, oh, yeah, I mean, I kind of figured because I thought I was really good at being able to hide that I had a crush on somebody. Spoiler, guys, most of us aren't that great. We're showing signals all the time, and women are just being nice and not calling us out on it, but they typically know. But in this case, I think maybe she thought that I had a crush on her but just wasn't making moves. I don't know. Either way. So she said, yeah, I kind of had an idea of that. And I said, okay, well, just want to let you know, and I'll talk to you later. And then at that point, I'm thinking, oh, man, this is great. Like, she knows I like her now. And, you know, she doesn't have to wonder about it anymore because I don't want to have women wondering and thinking things and not knowing what's going on. So, yeah. So I did that. And then I thought it would be, at that point, good enough for where I could, like, hit her up and, you know, try to go on dates with her and all sort of stuff. And that's not what happened. What actually happened was she started being more distant. She used to sit next to me in class, and then all of a sudden she wasn't doing that anymore. And we used to hang out. Like I used to be able to go over to her apartment to hang out, and now she wasn't giving me those invites as much anymore. And the key crux was at one point, I remember it was her birthday, and we had been talking about how much of a Janet Jackson fan she was. She was hoping to be able to catch the next concert. And so I think she had either had a new album come out or there was an album that I knew that she didn't have. So I went and got her this album. I remember going to her apartment and knocking on the door. And when she opened it, there were all these other people that were there, like women and men and all this other stuff. And I kind of gave her the gift and she was like, oh, okay, thanks. Like really nonchalant, almost like she could have half cared about it, right? So I'm wondering, like, what do I got to do? I'm like, I'm getting her gifts. I'm starting to write messages and trying to leave them at her door. Like, hey, just, you know, like, you know, I remember she left town before the holidays for our school break, and she didn't let me know she left town. And I sent her this email saying, hey, I just want you to know I felt really hurt that you didn't really tell me you were leaving town. And, you know, I thought that, you know, even if you weren't going out, that we still had a good connection and you would at least let me know that and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, all the simp stuff, right? And so she was like, well, you know, I didn't really say bye to anybody when I left the town and, you know, it's not that serious or whatever. So I go from thinking like, that this girl was liking me. She was showing me all the signals and doing all the things to like now it seems like she doesn't give half a crap about me, what's going on. Again, at this point, I still didn't really have like a full understanding of male and female dynamics, what was going on. All I'm thinking is I knew she liked me. So I told her that I liked her back and tried to do stuff to prove that. And now she doesn't like me anymore. And so it was at this point, I took a semester off from school because I had gotten into a touring theater company that was going to be touring around the country for 5 months to do a kids play. And so it was during that time I was going on a tour with like 5 other guys in a van. Most of whom were straight, but there were 2 guys in particular that we go to these different cities, and then we go out at night after the plays, and we go to like clubs and stuff. And I'd be seeing these guys like being the dudes, like they were like all the women were coming to them, and they would just walk in the club having a certain style about them, and walking in like their heads held high and just being the life of the party. And they would have women coming back to their hotel rooms, and I'm like, how are these guys just meeting these women and being able to just suddenly get them back into like the hotel, like they were here for like a night? What's going on? I couldn't figure it out. And so I just kind of started studying them and seeing what they were doing. And the important thing I realized is that they were not begging these women to do anything. They weren't like having to cajole them or buy them a whole bunch of drinks and stuff like that. It's like they were just the guys that women wanted to be with and were willing to just come home with. And so I started looking at that. I also started like studying up on people. Like there was guys like Doc Level on the internet who were like giving dating advice from a different angle than I'd heard before. Cause up to this point, most of my dating advice came from like books I read from like Christian authors and from women who, as well-meaning as the advice sounded, wasn't actually working for me. So I found a guy named Doc Love, and he started really like, I started reading his stuff and just realizing that there were so many things that I didn't understand and things that I had never been taught. But one of the major things was that ultimately attraction is not a choice, and that me trying to bargain with, chase down, do all these things weren't going to actually make a woman like me if she didn't already have a level of interest in me. And I'd never heard that before. I thought you could just manufacture it. Like you could just do enough nice things and, let them know that you like them and try to like call them all the time. And at that time, email them all the time and talk to them. And they'd eventually realize, oh, this person likes me, so I should like them back. And that is not how it worked. So anyway, with this particular girl, when I was on my 5-month hiatus, she was back at school for another semester and I was gone. And after reading up some of Doc Love's stuff and realizing that I was maybe there too much, I said, you know what? Let me just do a test. Let me just not contact this chick while I'm away on this 5-month tour. Now, within that 5 months, there were times where I would go back to my home state, and my home state is where my college also was. So I would go down to my college to visit some of my college mates. I would make it a point not to hit her up. I wouldn't seek her out intentionally. I wasn't trying to like go to the school and see if she was in one of the classes. I would just go there and see all my other friends. And one of the times that I went there was like maybe month 2 or 3 into my play, right? And I had not been talking to her. I had not been emailing her, nothing. And so, but I get invited out to go to a dinner with some of my friends, and she ends up being there. And I see her, and I'm like, don't go over to her. Just you sit where you're going to sit. Wherever she decides to sit, it's going to be what it is, right? So again, haven't talked to her for 3 months. I go sit down at this table, and lo and behold, who do you think comes and sits like darn near right across from me? The girl that I had been trying to talk to prior to me leaving the school for 5 months, right? And so, I'm cordial. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? She asked me a little about my travels. Like, oh yeah, I've just been traveling here and there. It's been great, this and that. And then I go on to talk to like other people because again, I'm practicing not trying to be there so much for this chick that had rejected me. So you might hear some dogs in the background. I'm walking in the neighborhood. So yeah. So, then I leave, and eventually the 5-month trip is over in May. And I kid you, I think I told some of them like when the last day of my play was gonna be like that first week of May, because the last place we were doing our play was gonna be like at a school that was near the college I was going to. So after that's done, I remember I get home and I have an email, and it's from this chick. And the email simply said, hey, I hope you had a good time on your travels. It seemed really fun. And then she says, hey, you should like hit me up next time you're in town. And then it says, I really miss you. Please hit me up. And it was the first time that I realized the stuff that I was learning about women with regards to like connecting with them and trying to, beat them down and convince them to try to date you, like, was really true. That like, if you left them alone, if you weren't just always on them, then there's a good chance that they'll just come after you on their own. Now, even with that, like, I still wanted to test that out. So there was a point where during that summer I was doing sales, and I had to do a sales call in the area of the state where she was at. So I told her, hey, I'm coming down to do this sales thing. If you want to happen to meet up, it is what it is. Like, I wasn't trying to like chase her or anything like that, but I was like, I will be in your area. If you happen to want to see me, let me know. And assuming I have time, we can make it happen. And she responded back instantly, oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see you. So I go to do the sales call. I think the people canceled. So I went to the house. They weren't there. They didn't do the thing. I said, okay. So I hit her up and said, hey, I'm coming to your place. Thing just got canceled. I'm on my way. And I get to her apartment. And when I knock on the door, she opens the door, and she is head to toe in like the sexiest bit of what can only be described as like pajama lingerie that I have ever seen in my friggin' life. And even then, I'm 21 at this point, I still haven't hooked up with anybody yet. And I'm still in my head about like, but just because I saw her respond to me in this way doesn't mean that she's ready to do this. Just because she's in lingerie, this could just be her Saturday attire. So naive and dumb back then. But I remember seeing it just be like, okay, well, let's not take anything and assume anything. So once again, I made the moves of not making moves, like went to her place, we talked, caught up a little bit. And then about an hour or so after that, I left. Like, I was in hindsight, I was like, what was I doing? Like, I had the moves. I knew what I was doing. But the point is that, so again, that happened. And then after she did that, I started understanding, oh, she was probably interested again. And what did I do? I started trying to be the one to track her down, to be the one to like set up meetings and all sorts of things. And she lost interest again. So then I left her alone again for a few months. And then cut to now at this point, she's graduated, but she's still in the area. And I got another year of school to go. At least at the time I had another year. I ended up having 2 years for various reasons. And so, yeah, she would hit me up, and then she'd come over and we talk and have a good time. And then at the point that I start trying to like over talk, over text, all this other stuff, she'd lose interest again. So that whole back and forth with her really taught me that at the end of the day, there's a difference between you showing interest as a guy enough to let her know that you want to see her, and doing it too much to where she feels as though you're forcing her to have to choose you versus it being her choice to want to do that. And after that chick, I think that was the last. There was a few others that I maybe texted a bit too much or called a bit too much, but I really started to get the point of like, at the end of the day, if a woman likes you, she helps you. And if she doesn't, she won't. And that if she has interest, trust me, guys, I've been on plenty of first and second dates now where at the point that, I've taken her out a couple times and shown her a good time, but I haven't been the one that's like overbearingly texting her, calling her, all this other stuff. Once they get a few good experiences with you and they really start to like you a lot, they've been the ones that end up hitting me up. They're the ones that start planning dates. They're the ones that start paying for dates. They're the ones that suggest I come to their place. And it's so much easier to have that stuff happen if you let them come to you. And that's why I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. Because if she's the one that is texting you and calling you and all this other stuff, then she can't be getting rid of you. Now, guys will hear that and think I'm saying, as a guy, don't do any work. I will never say that. Your job as a guy is to be able to put out in the universe that you want to see her. So that's why I say, yeah, you text her to ask for a date, and you do that in between dates after 4 or 5 days of seeing her the previous time. You don't not ever text her, but you don't over text her, meaning you were waiting the 4 days to text her for a date. But if she happens to hit you up, yeah, continue that conversation. But all your moves should be going towards, I want to see you in person versus I want to talk to you on phone every day. And, I want to like see you nonstop. Like, you're not going to get a woman interested if you're making her feel as though she has to see you nonstop. And if she feels like you're always going to her for your entertainment, because there's a level of this where she needs to feel as though if she wasn't in your life, you'd still be going after your goals. You'd still be happy regardless, because women don't want all the pressure of thinking that she's now responsible solely for all your happiness. So that starts to add, you're living your life. She wants to be added to your life by proxy. She doesn't want to be the one that's like your whole life now. And guys that say like, well, I'm such a huge romantic and I just have so much. This is why you're losing women, because you're the one that's chasing after them and they don't want that. You can show enough interest so they know, oh, you want to see her. She doesn't have to know the level of that. And more importantly, she doesn't need to know, because again, she wants to think that she's the one convincing you to stay with her instead of the other way around. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that story because I was also a simp at one point, guys. I was not doing great. And that's why I have a whole course called the Get Girls Academy, which you can get for free at stoplosewomen.com just by signing up for the video newsletter. But yeah, get yourself educated and learn the things you need to learn to be more patient, to be less anxious, and to ultimately stop chasing women altogether. That's all I got. I'm Harry Wilmington. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Stop Losing Women podcast. See you later, big boy.